Carnival, a burst of joy, music, and color. But did you know that this festivity has a dark origin linked to meat to Baal? Yes, this term refers back to ancient sacrificial rituals in honor of the god Baal. Just imagine, the greatest modern celebration of joy connected to ancestral practices of offerings. In this video, we're going to unveil how the Carnival, this vibrant celebration that crosses cultures, was born from a tradition that challenges perceptions. Get ready to see Carnival with new eyes and discover the hidden secrets behind the masks and costumes. Well, have you heard that the term pagan festivity related to Carnival has its roots in the worship of Baal, that god of the Canaanites? Yes, that very one to whom meat sacrifices were offered. That's right, the expression meat to Baal might have been the genesis of the term Carnival. Intriguing, isn't it? Now, hold on to that curiosity, and let's dig a bit deeper. Have you ever come across the name Beelzebub in the Bible? This is one of the titles given to Satan, which translated from Hebrew means Lord of the Flies, and in Greek turns into Beelzebub, meaning Prince of Demons. It seems things are getting more interesting, right? The Bible itself warns us about the dangers of worshiping or even consulting such entities. So, have you started to rethink the meaning behind the Carnival celebration? It might never have crossed your mind that this so popular celebration, which many consider part of our culture, deserving of protection and diffusion, could have such controversial roots. But wait, it's not time to jump to conclusions. It's interesting to observe how over more than 5,000 years the ancients already gathered in pagan celebrations. Just imagine, around a bonfire, painted and masked, they sought to ward off evil spirits and asked for fertile lands and good harvests. Does it sound familiar? Paul in his letter to the Colossians warns us, "See to it that no one takes you captive through hollow and deceptive philosophy, which depends on human tradition and the elemental spiritual forces of this world rather than on Christ." This makes us think about the importance of questioning and understanding the roots and meanings of the traditions we follow. So, how about we embark on this reflection together? Could it be that Carnival is just a festival of joy and celebration, or does it carry with it deeper and perhaps forgotten meanings? How do you see the relationship between tradition, culture, and faith in our lives today? Let's talk more about this unhurriedly and with an open mind. After all, knowledge is the key to true understanding. Did you know that, according to the Bible, there is an idol whose worship was not only disapproved but considered absolutely abominable? Yes, we are talking about Baal, that god of antiquity that seems to come straight out of an epic movie script, with powers that controlled everything from the cycle of seasons to the fertility of the earth, promising rain for the crops. Now just imagine grand parades, dances, colorful ceremonial attire. It even seems a bit like some of our modern festivities, doesn't it? But here comes the part that might make you rethink this comparison. The worship of Baal involved rituals that, frankly, are hair-raising. We are talking about sacrifices that could include from animals to, believe it or not, human beings. And we are not talking about just any human being, but children. Yes, this was the horrendous practice known as meat for Baal. The Bible spares no words in condemning these pagan rituals. The worship of Baal is painted in dark tones as a reminder of the dangers of idolatry and the departure from divine teachings. But what does this tell us about the importance of reflecting on the traditions and practices we follow? How can we learn from these ancient stories to make conscious decisions about what we celebrate and how we celebrate today? It's interesting to think that, despite the millennia of distance, we can still find parallels between ancient practices and some of the ways we gather and celebrate in society today. This does not mean that we are doing something wrong by enjoying festivities and celebrations. After all, joy and unity are fundamental aspects of the human experience. But perhaps it's worth pausing for a moment to think, what are the values we are celebrating? And more importantly, are we aware of the origins and meanings behind these celebrations? These practices reflect a time when the understanding of the sacred and moral was drastically different, based on the belief that such sacrifices could maintain the balance of the natural world. and ensure the prosperity of the community. It's a notion that, for most of us today, is unimaginable and repulsive. The narrative of the confrontation between Elijah and the prophets of Baal, as described in 1 Kings, is a striking example of that era. The prophets of Baal, in their desperate attempt to invoke their god to consume the Holocaust with fire from heaven, went as far as to cut themselves until they bled, following their traditions, but in vain. This episode is a powerful illustration of the impotence of these practices and the futility of idolatry. Throughout history, the human desire for celebration and festivity took many forms, evolving into practices less barbaric and more inclusive of joy and communion. For example, the Roman Saturnalia, a festival in honor of Saturn, the god of agriculture, is often cited as a precursor to modern Carnival. During these festivities, the Romans also adopted disguises and temporarily inverted social roles, creating a space of licentiousness and celebration. The transformation of celebrations throughout history is a fascinating theme that shows us how culture and religion can shape and reshape traditions over the centuries. During the Roman Empire period, festivities were marked by almost unlimited freedoms, where excesses were not only allowed but also expected. Masks and disguises served as a veil of anonymity, allowing participants to dive into all kinds of adventures without fearing social judgment. It was a time when, under the cloak of the party, social hierarchies were temporarily suspended, and everyone could enjoy extravagant freedom. With the decline of the Roman Empire and the rise of the Catholic Church, there was a significant change in cultural practices. The Church, seeking to establish a more rigid social order aligned with its principles, intervened in pagan celebrations. Many of these festivals were suppressed while others were incorporated and adapted to the Christian calendar, in an attempt to Christianize popular practices. In this context, Carnival emerged as a festivity that precedes a period of great religious importance, Lent. Carnival then came to be seen as the last chance for indulgence before Lent, a time of penance, abstinence, and reflection that lasts 40 days, culminating in Holy Week. It's interesting to note how Carnival became an escape valve, a moment of liberation, before entering a period of restriction and introspection. Ash Wednesday, immediately following Carnival, marks the official start of Lent and symbolizes a return to sobriety and penance. This duality between celebration and contemplation is a reflection of human complexities. During Carnival, people allow themselves to break away from routine, explore other identities through masks and disguises, and experience joy without restrictions. This period of freedom and unrestraint contrasts sharply with the sobriety and recollection of Lent. Carnival, with its deep historical roots and vibrant cultural manifestations, is often seen as a period of freedom and uninhibited expression. However, from a critical Christian perspective, this festivity also raises important questions about the values and behaviors it promotes, especially regarding licentiousness and excesses. It's essential to remember Paul's words in Galatians 5:22-23, which speak of the fruit of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. These virtues should guide not only our everyday behavior but also our way of celebrating. Thank you for following this video, and I hope it has provided valuable insights into the origin of Carnival and much more. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any content that explores the richness of history and culture. See you in the next video, where we will continue to explore together the fascinating stories that shape our world.